Hello, welcome to Remember Today's Decay, celebrating births and beginnings of everything important since the dawn of time, May 26th edition. And today, throughout space and time, Robert W. Chambers was born on this day in 1865, writer primarily of many melodrama. I think they're considered secretary novels, I think, in like the Edwardian era. But that's not why his name rings down throughout history. No, it is because of his creation of the King in Yellow mythos, which, here you go, an original 1897, I think, copy of the book. Really haunting, wonderful stuff if you're unfamiliar. Weird fiction does predate H.P. Lovecraft, and some of the writers that were experimenting with this early genre, which I guess wasn't even a genre at the time, do some really interesting stuff that, like, they're not, there's no need to, like, fit into, like, a well-celebrated and set in stone Cthulhu mythos type Lovecraftian universe. Instead, like, everything you get in The King in Yellow is just so twisted and dark and simple and delicate and yet really haunting and impactful, where, like, there's like this other plane of existence. Is it another planet? Is it like alongside ours but silent, where like Carcosa has black stars rise, and this pallid masked creature who like oversees this other world where, like, if you happen to like read a sentence or two further into this manuscript than you should, then like your own sanity begins to unravel, and it all becomes like a questionable narrator situation of like, what is sanity anymore anyway? And I don't even know that I'm doing it justice. It's just so beautiful, and there's no like giant monster, Cthulhu type situation that kind of dumbs it down. This is just like our own very delicate grasp on reality and or sanity, I suppose. Much like as explored with Arthur Machen's The Great God Pan and some of the work of William Hope Hodgson. I guess Algernon Blackwood, similar situation at points, but this right here, The King in Yellow by Robert W. Chambers, required reading on the day of his birth, 1865. Yeah. Well, that's not all. We came to a good section today, one of the bookshelves, because on this day in 1897, none other than Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula, was first published, and so it's like Dracula Day. I love when like the stuff winds up taking on a life of its own, or other people, you know, similarly feel that these things are necessary to really call attention to and celebrate. So here we have an original 1927 novel of Dracula. This is with a reproduction dust jacket, but a beautiful one nonetheless. The originals are hard to come by and very delicate, but as you can see here, this is the original 20s version. This was a promotional tie-in to the Broadway play, which, while Bela Lugosi did perform on the Broadway play, he wasn't like the first actor to play the lead character, and his name wasn't synonymous with the role just yet in 27. Speaking of which, this is also 1927. Here is, what is this, a handbill? I think they were called. Forgetting now. Here is 1927 Broadway handbill for Dracula. Original. Critics praise Dracula. Here it was playing at the Schubert Riviera Theater, Broadway and 97th Street here in New York City. Nothing more blithely blood-curdling since The Bat. That was also like a stage play around the same time with like Cat and the Canary and Old Dark House type thing. Really a Scooby-Doo episode. But this is the first like supernatural horror film in America. Maybe not the first, but it solidifies the universal monster. Whatever, I'm getting ahead of myself. See it and creep, says John Anderson of the Post. Was enjoyed to the hilt. Auditorium quaked delightedly at the Fulton. That's Alexander Wolcott from The World. Shiver as you could possibly wish and very well played. Shivery as you could possibly wish and very well played, says Burns Mantle from News. I don't know. Hard to read. An evening rich in horror, Frank V. Vreeland from The Telegram writes. A series of spine-creeping thrills, Walter Winchell of The Graphic writes. Brought chills to many distinguished first nighters, Robert Coleman writes from The Mirror. In a class by itself, after seeing about every thriller on Broadway in the last 15 years, this is the first and only one that actually thrills for 3 acts, writes the Wall Street Journal. So that's really exciting. What else can I show you here? It's a whole pamphlet. So here, as I was saying, it was not Bela Lugosi as the first lead character here. Really interesting. I forget. They say his name. I'm blanking on it off the top of my head. Although look, there you've got Lugosi. So he was clearly like already playing the role, but he wasn't like, you know, the only person. Pretty great, huh? Yeah. And of course, there's that story of Bela Lugosi playing Dracula on stage, and that was where Theda Bara saw him live and like immediately got romantically entangled with him from her seat, and like they had like a tumultuous, brief relationship. What is a vampire? For those that didn't know, but yeah, so Horace Liverwright. Live right, die right. Yeah, so meanwhile, Lugosi winds up getting the role as Dracula for the Universal Pictures production. So here is an original photoplay of Dracula from 1931. This time with the dust jacket and whatever bits and pieces it's still collected in. So there you've got Lugosi doing what could almost resemble the ruined Whitby Abbey stairs, right? That we all now suddenly know and love after my trip to England this past March. So yeah, this has stills of the film throughout it, and the idea was take Dracula home with you, and you could, replay the horrors at your own convenience and not just be stuck in the movie theater for the very short time it played. You could hang out and read it at your will, right? What else can I show you here? Oh, here's another one. This is 1930, the Sundial Library version. I have a feeling that any self-respecting vampire would steer clear of the sun and maybe dial it in from the moon. Anyway, I love the artwork here for this dust jacket. Yeah. And last but certainly not least, here's a beater copy with the Edward Gorey artwork as used live on stage in the 70s production. So yeah, there you go. What else? Peter Cushing, born today, 1913. Mick Ronson of the crucial era of David Bowie, born today, 1946. One of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes. Will the Real Martian Please Stand Up? Premiered today, 1961. My real favorite, though, is Death's Head Revisited, because I'm a bummer. And in 1972, today, the EC Fanatic Convention started here in New York City. And, to be a fly on the wall. I wish, but I wasn't even a twinkle at that point. Anyway, that's it, the whole day. All things to embrace. Get your face in a book and your mind on the grave. Till tomorrow.